Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Noah. So Noah, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Sure. So, hey, everybody. I live in Austin, Texas, usually, and my family's from Houston. But what I do is I help e-commerce brands grow with TikTok Shop and with social media. And so our biggest goal is helping brands increase their views and sales. And I'm also a student. I go to University of Texas at Austin. And I'm turning 20 in May. And that's about it.
Well, happy early birthday. But yeah, I'm curious more about your background. Like, how did you kind of get into this space in the first place?
Yeah, so I come from the generation of internet kids. And so I always was aware of online business and aware of the potential of it, like most kids in my generation were. But it was always very much it was very unclear how one could actually succeed with that. Ethically and honorably and just actually accurately, actually. So the main way that I thought people would become successful online is through YouTube as a kid. And so becoming a YouTube star was always like the number one way for people to become successful, I'd say. But I actually started with flipping and eBay when I was about 15. And from there, I started drop shipping, and I actually did that for about a year and a half. And that was a lot of testing, a lot of product testing. That was probably like the first 5 to 8 businesses or so. And it pretty much all failed. None of it really worked except for flipping. And so through doing that, I learned about social media marketing and trying to market my own brands. And then finally it took off, even though my marketing was always more successful than just the other aspects of my business. And so I eventually heard a quote by Gary Vee where he said, you should always play to your strengths in business and not your weaknesses, which is when I decided, hey, I'm a good marketer. I'm not really good at all this other stuff. Why don't I just focus on that? And that's when I started actually running a marketing agency in 2022.
That's awesome. And I'm curious what you were flipping, because that was actually also like my first biz. Like I used to get autographs and I sold them on eBay for many years. So I'm curious like what you were selling on eBay.
So I was selling pretty much anything I could. I was literally just getting my hands on things from a little bit yard sales, but mainly like even just my parents' old stuff. And I found the things that did best were brand name things in general. So like Nike shoes or backpacks or, an old Dell computer, things like that. Those always sold the best for me. So that's what I focused on. Nothing like high-end designer. And Dan, I know you have this background with collectibles, so I never really got into collectibles, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like I used to do some of that too. I would go to like Goodwill, and sometimes you can find stuff that people donate and it's like brand new, like Under Armour with tags, and it's like a $2 shirt you can sell for like $25 or something like that. So yeah, it's definitely a good market for those types of things.
You can find real like hidden gems. People will give away old designer, bags and things like that they don't use, but they spent so much on it and it's depreciated, but you can actually still make a lot of profit if you know how to contain your emotions and not get too excited. As long as they don't know that it's valuable, you have a little bit of a leg up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I feel like the last few years, like Goodwill's kind of figured out like some of these things, like the values, like the prices are much higher, and they even have like their own like a website and marketplace where they're kind of like jacking up the prices compared to even like 5-10 years ago. But yeah, it's like I'm curious more about. So like you kind of in 2022 that you started this marketing agency, and were you always kind of thinking about doing it like on TikTok? Were you exploring like other avenues? Like what made you choose TikTok at that time?
So our biggest metric for first client success as an agency is really about the revenue that the clients are able to drive, the sales that they're able to do. They care much more about that than they do about social media views or other metrics that I would call like vanity metrics, really. And so as a result, we've done everything. We offer Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok, but we've really found TikTok has this incredible potential for brands to actually scale to see insane ordered quantities, sales, and all those kinds of results. And so it's much more valuable, in my opinion, for brands to be on TikTok Shop than it is for them to really try similar efforts on other platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and others. So as a result, we really focus on helping brands grow with TikTok Shop because that's where the money is, that's where the eyeballs are, and that's where the potential is. Also, TikTok Shop has made a lot of efforts to work with us as an agency. And so we're TikTok Shop official partners. We're also official partners with TikTok Live. And so as a result of their actually working with us, we've been able to ensure client success even more. We've had brands coming to us after getting banned that we've been able to bring back from the dead, and we're able to do things like that, which is like based on just TikTok being able to work with us. And I don't know of other platforms that are looking to help brands grow and actually just help them in general that much.
Yeah, so I'm curious more about like the strategy as well, because I mean, obviously TikTok is a very different game, right? It's more like influencers and authenticity and UGC. So what does that kind of look like, right? Because like if a brand is looking to launch on TikTok as their go to market, what do they kind of have to make it a successful launch?
Yeah, good question, Dan. So I think the traditional model of working with creators can be kind of broken down into multiple different segments. So first off, you have UGC creators. These are people that are going to charge you for usage rights of your content. And they're almost like actors where they're going to charge you to make the video. And there's not necessarily much value in terms of expected sales or reach of your video. That means they're really just expecting you to basically run your content on paid ads with your own money, and then maybe you'll get sales that way. They have no actual responsibility that they take into the content. So I don't recommend really working with creators from the UGC angle. I don't think that model works well for organic social media, although it can work for running ads and other things, especially with Meta. So with TikTok Shop, I typically try to explain the difference of that to what we do, where we're working with TikTok Shop creators or creator affiliates, where they have this certified status by TikTok, and they're able to essentially drive sales straight from their videos. They're able to link the product card from their videos, and viewers are able to purchase directly from these videos. And so these videos have a ton of value because these creators are, at least the ones that we find for brands, are extremely experienced. And so we can actually essentially guarantee some level of actual results in terms of sales, because the whole process is designed to get sales, right? Some brands will hire actors from Fiverr or Upwork to make the content. And even if those people post on their social media profiles, there's no expected real results. And same thing with working with large influencers. If you work with a large influencer who may charge, $20,000 for a video, that seems like it's going to work because they're charging so much, but that's not exactly how it works. They're charging so much because big brands find that very valuable. Let's say Coca-Cola or Tinder or, massive companies will pay for one-off videos like that. But those videos don't drive direct ROI. Those videos are more like billboards. And so for brands, at least for brands in maybe $500,000 to $10 million a year range, in my opinion, they need real revenue and sales results. And so the TikTok Shop model, where you're able to actually directly drive revenue, is a lot more, doable, realistic to hit those goals, as opposed to working with influencers or UGC creators or other types of content creators that don't actually drive sales connected to their results.
For sure. And then in terms of finding like those right partners, right? Because like not every single, affiliate out there is going to be a good fit for every single brand, right? So how do you kind of go about like matching those right partnerships and saying like, listen, this person is good for this brand, this person's good for that brand. Like, what does that kind of look like?
Sure. So there's a very specific type of brand demographic that's a fit for TikTok Shop and for our services right now. As of now, what that looks like is it's going to be brands that are working specifically with supplement, health, wellness, fashion, those kinds of niches that do well on TikTok Shop. If they're selling $1,000 products, that's just not a fit for TikTok Shop, because TikTok Shop is still a bit of a discount platform, right? These are still products. If they're doing well on Amazon and Shopify, they're more likely to be a good fit than if they're only doing well on Shopify, if that makes sense. So first off, it's going to be the price of the product really needs to be $20 to $100. And then the next step is going to be actually finding creators. There's a lot of good places to find creators. I'm not going to say there's only one way to do this. Some of the best include Discord creator communities, include making posts on your own personal Twitter or LinkedIn account, connecting to someone like me who can provide creators. And other ways to do this are reaching out to creators through the TikTok Shop Seller Center, or using like a bot to reach out to creators instead of a virtual assistant. So there's a lot of ways to find creators, and they all work. But I would say brands should try for themselves which different ways and see what works best for them, or just partner up directly with someone who knows how to do it. And that's kind of the easiest way to grow quicker.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's definitely makes sense, and it definitely helps brands. They can find somebody that knows how to do it. And I think also, just to your point, right? I mean, price point matters. type of product matters. And I'm always curious about this. And like we kind of experienced the same thing like on Meta. It's like certain things with like attribution can be hard to measure, right? Because like you see it, you make a post on TikTok, and this happened to me today. Actually, like I saw something on TikTok. I went like on Amazon and bought the product, right? And I think that happens a lot. So how do you kind of like look at overall success for a brand? Because there's certain things with attribution which you can't always measure from an affiliate per se.
Exactly. So there's so much spillover that you can't really do 100% attribution. TikTok Shop helps a lot with attribution because they do actually track it very well, at least within the platform. So likely if your video does well on TikTok, you'll see the sales on TikTok. And then we actually see a ton of spillover to Amazon specifically, Shopify too, but Amazon the most. And I think it's because, Dan, sounds like you're one of these people that trust Amazon more. And so there are a lot of people like this that just prefer Amazon as a platform for shopping, and they prefer TikTok as a platform for viewing and entertainment, which is fine. So we see a lot of spillover to Amazon. And there's some ways that you can track it. For example, you can look as a seller, you can look at maybe your last 30 days and see the days that content performed better or your ads performed better, and then you can typically see on Amazon the increase in sales as well on those with time, just looking at the times of things. So that's kind of the best way to track that. But yeah, I mean, attribution's a little bit tough, but those are just added sales, so it ultimately adds at the end of the day.
For sure. And then in terms of TikTok, I mean, obviously there's a lot of conversation now about TikTok and getting banned or not getting banned, but it seems like that obviously, I mean, TikTok is here to stay. And from that standpoint, what are some of the trends you're seeing right now, or even like upcoming features, things like that you think, for brands that are just getting started or that want to get started on TikTok should be kind of looking out for in 2025?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question, because the thing is, TikTok 6 months ago for brands was very different than it is now. And so some examples of that were 6 months ago, it was easier to find good creators than it is now. 6 months ago, creator awards programs started to become a big thing, where brands needed to offer prizes in addition to money in order just to get creators on board to make content. And so the reason for that is because it's become a lot more competitive in the marketplace for brands to actually meet and work with creators. As a result, instead of being a nice add-on, in my opinion, creator awards programs are a must. You have to have rewards that are connected to the different milestones that creators hit in terms of GMV or actualized revenue. Next, in addition to that, having retainer programs are another aspect that are much more necessary. All of these things that used to be a nice add-on in order to get good creators, and now are, in my opinion, very important in order to see success. So retainer programs, based on the amount of revenue that creators drive, they should automatically be able to get retainers based on that. So for example, if they drive a $10,000 revenue month, then you should automatically accept them for $1,000 retainer, things along those lines. And so I would say just building up the program is a lot more difficult and competitive than it used to be. And then second will be methodology. So organic content is still big. We're still very early on short form video, but there are other aspects that TikTok Shop really wants brands to focus on now. Some of those things are running paid ads and Spark ads and GMV Max ads. And the second is live streaming. Live streaming is becoming very big, both with TikTok Shop and just in general. Live is something that TikTok is pushing very heavily in the US. And so creators and brands that focus on live streaming are going to win big in 2025 and beyond. That is something that we're incredibly early to, but this is something that will just drive more sales, drive more revenue. And I was talking to a creator yesterday who did $8,000 in the last 2 weeks, and his secret's live streaming. Now, the problem with live streaming, the solution with live streaming, it really separates the best creators from the rest. Because if you're going to be successful live streaming, you got to be doing it for 1 to 8 hours per day, like literally at least an hour straight, if not longer. And that is very difficult to do. I personally would not want to go on an 8-hour live stream. It seems very boring and difficult, but this is something that TikTok pushes very heavily. And the way it works is as you drive sales on the live stream, TikTok will push the live stream to more viewers, and then the live stream will grow and grow. And so live streams are becoming very big and will grow more in the future. And people that can take advantage now will win big, for sure.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think the way to kind of litigate that is if you're able to invest in a studio and then you have different creators coming in. I see some brands doing that where they have, they have one person comes for an hour, a different person comes for, it's just like these kinds of shifts that people are picking up, as opposed to your point, the same person sitting and talking for 8 hours straight, which I think is a very difficult task to do.
Yeah. There are even some cases, Dan, where TikTok themselves will pay for the studio for a brand or for an agency to run and use.
For sure, yeah. And then I guess in terms of, if you were saying that there's like, it's like super important, right, to have prizes for people, based on revenue and attribution. So what should that prize pool kind of look like? I know that some brands, are giving trips to Dubai, like just crazy wild prizes and things like that. I mean, do you think that you have to go to like that level, or can an Amazon gift card be sufficient? Like, where do you kind of think that stands for somebody like to actually have a successful prize pool and have creators be interested?
That's a good question. And the key here is I would say don't be chintzy. Now, the question really is how much margin is the brand willing to give away? So you do want to shoot for the stars. And so as a result, my recommendation is to make a list of concrete revenue milestones that if creators hit, they qualify for a reward. So for example, that gift card makes a lot of sense if the creator made a smaller amount. So maybe if they made $1,000 in GMV for the brand, they get a gift card that's 10% of that. Now, what if they made $1 million in GMV? Then the gift card would not be relevant, and they may not even try to hit 1 million because the gift card's not a good enough price. So in that case, offer something that's proportionate to that, maybe 10% of 1 million, right? It depends on what the brand can afford and their margins, but that to me that makes sense if that works with the margins. Say 10% of 1 million is 100K. You as the brand will decide how much margin you're able to give away. If it's 10% of 1 million, you just choose a prize that's worth 100K. That could be a car, or that could be an insane trip. But that's typically what we see winning right now. The way we like to do it actually is find prizes that are very easy for the brand to deliver. So a trip to Dubai is very complex. You would probably need to have a travel agent. You would need to probably buy in advance because you would need specific dates to know actually the price and just to confirm the different aspects of this trip. What we'll do is things that are a little bit simpler and easy to confirm. For example, if you do a Bahamas cruise, it's always the same cost. So even if you buy that in advance, that's something very easy to deliver. You just give them the tickets to the cruise. Another example is Teslas. Teslas can be ordered online. So they're one of the easier things that you can just include, like a Cybertruck or a Model 3 at different price points, and you can use something like that. And it works pretty well too.
That's awesome. Yeah, that'll be a cool gift for sure if you can win a Tesla. I guess in terms of your business, right? Because right now we're in Q2 of 2025. So what are some of your biggest goals and objectives for the rest of this year?
Yeah. So our goal is just to have a 10 out of 10 customer success score, 10 out of 10 for our net promoter score, and really just to have a successful team. And so my team is of 8 people now. We're looking to probably grow to 15 by the end of the year. And so for me, that'll be amazing because I'll be able to delegate more. As CEO, I kind of wear a lot of hats right now. And so I'm going to be looking to focus more on what I'm best at and bring in experts that are much better at me to do everything else. And so I already have some amazing people on my team, and it's thankfully it's going very, very well. And so continuing to give them more responsibility, continuing to grow will really allow everybody to focus on their strengths. And I'm really excited just to do all that.
That's a really good goal. And I guess like if you could go back in time, right, to 2022 before you got started, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
The one biggest piece of advice that I wish I knew 3 years ago when I started the agency, I would say, I think that in retrospect, I worked really hard, but I probably was a little bit wishy-washy in the sense that I was trying so many different things. And so I kind of would tell myself, just focus on maybe a couple essential metrics and really avoid everything else. Instead of focusing on, as an agency, I think you get bogged down by there's so many different metrics of success that you could kind of worry about. And if you worry about all of them, you really worry about none of them. So I would tell myself, focus more on just your client roster and maybe a little bit less on scaling all the time, because I think you got to just focus on your clients and just focus on the team more than anything. And so I think I was never organized enough in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there's never like a perfect handbook. You kind of have to like just learn these things, as you get started and kind of on the go. So I guess like on that note, like if somebody watching this wants to work with you, do you mind sharing your website or social media? I guess best ways to get in contact.
Yeah, best way to schedule a time to talk to me is at maverickcreative.net. So go to maverickcreative.net to schedule a time to talk to me or my team. And then for anything else, feel free to message me on LinkedIn, Noah Friedberg, or Twitter X at Maverick Ecom, or on Discord at Maverick Ecom as well. If you're a creator, we'll be able to match you with brands. If you're a brand, we're going to be able to match you with a ton of amazing creators and really help you scale. So feel free to message me any one of those ways, and we'll go from there.
No, thanks so much for your time today.
Yep. Thanks, Dan.